We just celebrated the return of our astronauts from Artemis II, and one of the coolest things, I think, were the pictures that came back of the moon. Joining me now is Dr. Robert Harmon. He is from Ohio Wesleyan University, the Department of Physics and Astronomy. We're going to talk about your reaction because you love studying geology of the moon.
Yeah, I teach a course, Astronomy 110, which is about our solar system, and so this ties directly in with that.
So what was your reaction when those first images were coming back that we haven't seen anything like it in more than 50 years?
Yeah, it's something that I've been waiting for a long time. It felt like it was never going to happen, sort of an I'll believe it when I see it, and we're seeing it. I teach a course about space exploration. It's a travel learning course. I take students, for example, to Japan to visit JAXA centers, Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency centers. The last time I taught the course, we talked a lot about Artemis. And so it's really fun to see the reactions of the students, how excited they are to see this actually happening now.
What were we able to accomplish now versus what they were able to see and describe from the Apollo era?
Yeah, well, certainly we have more sophisticated instrumentation and cameras now. The astronauts are a lot more comfortable than the Apollo astronauts were because the cabin is a lot larger. And so we're going to learn a lot more about the moon than we could with 1960s and 70s era technology.
So why the moon? Why study the geology there? How does that benefit us here on Earth?
Well, the moon and the Earth, of course, are intricately linked together. An interesting thing about the moon is that if we look at what we call, for example, oxygen isotope ratios, so varieties of oxygen with different numbers of neutrons in the nucleus, they're essentially identical between Earth and the moon. And that tells us very important things about the moon and also about the Earth. By studying the moon, we gain insight into our very own Earth and how it formed.
That's so fascinating. Who would have thought? I mean, we look up at the moon every single night, and sometimes you can still see it as we get moonset. What was your favorite part about those pictures coming in? Was it the craters? Was it just hearing the description and just closing your eyes and imagining you were there with the astronauts?
Yeah, I was watching the live stream when they were flying around the moon, and it was a little frustrating because the astronauts were describing what they were seeing, but we weren't getting the pictures at the time. And so I'm thinking like, oh, I really want to see these things. And of course, now we've seen them. And I really appreciate, just from a human standpoint, just from an appreciation of beauty, the pictures that show the Earth and the moon together. I think those are very inspiring.
I was definitely inspired as well. And this mission does not just stop here. You talked about teaching space exploration, and these images, these descriptions, what we were able to take, that's going to help them eventually when we land and go to the South Pole of the moon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Artemis IV now is the one that's planned to have boots on the moon again for the first time in more than 50 years near the lunar South Pole. We know that there is water there because of the fact that it's near the South Pole, and a lot of that area is a lower elevation and in perpetual darkness. And so the water doesn't sublimate, doesn't evaporate.
And my final question for you is, what do you hope our future generations take from the geology that we were able to describe and see and discover for things that you might teach in your class, but hopefully these future generations will be motivated moving forward to have more knowledge of what's going on right above us?
I certainly hope so. I mean, one thing that I'd like to point out to my students is that there are people walking around on Earth right now who do not know, when they look at the moon, that their feet are going to be on it someday. There are probably people walking on Earth right now who do not know, when they look at Mars, that they're going to be on Mars someday. And I think it's just utterly fascinating and inspirational to think about that. And I tell my students, who knows, maybe you're one of those people.
Oh, I love it. And I have chills. Bob, thank you so much for joining us, and looking forward to the future discoveries from Artemis.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.